What is it that makes a great film? Is it the ability to create spectacle and bring the audience into the story? Or is it the intrigue and relatability of the characters within this story? A film that I believe achieves both of these qualities with such subtlety is the 1972 mystery thriller Sleuth. This film is packed full of creativity, from the twists in the plot to the ever-shifting dynamics of the characters within this. I think one of the greatest aspects of this film is the performances by Sir Laurence Olivier and Michael Caine, who play Andrew Wyke and Milo Tyndale respectively. The plot revolves around Milo, a hair salon owner, asking Andrew, a famous crime novelist, if he can marry his estranged wife. Andrew hatches a proposition for Milo, which soon develops into an unnerving game. This plot really allows for the actors to cut loose. Throughout each encounter, Olivier and Caine appear to be outdoing themselves. It becomes not only a game of power through the narrative, but a game of one-upsmanship by the actors. Performances can be menacing, but sympathetic, egotistical but subtle. You learn so much about these people, and the film only spans a few days. I can't stress this enough, these performances are iconic, and they help in crafting this masterpiece. When it comes to Wyke, you understand his motives perfectly. From the first moment the audience is introduced to him, you know he is commanding, but also fragile. The man must be in control, and this is evident all the way throughout the first act.
Whatever are you doing with that cue in your hand?
I was waiting for you to miss.
Foolish boy.
It is clear through his manipulation of Milo throughout the robbery staging. You can even pick this up through more subtle aspects, such as his solving the maze for Milo and handily defeating him at snooker. Everything he does is to slowly chip away at the people around him. Wyke believes himself to be just as fantastical as the detective in his novels. This aspect is Wyke's ultimate weakness. In his mind, everyone else is inferior to him, and from this he underestimates Milo. Wyke appears to live in a fantasy, the fantasy that he is a genius, and all of his life is but a game. He has no one for company other than his animatronics, which have been purpose-built to humour him. But once this facade is stripped away, Wyke proves to be quick to anger and very defensive, thus showing his fragility. Throughout the first act, Milo is shown as a fool. His bravado is quickly stripped away by Andrew, which leads to his humiliation from Wyke's tormented games. After this, Milo returns under the disguise of Inspector Doppler. During this interaction, Milo intentionally plays the fool, allowing for Wyke to lower his guard.
Caviar. So that's what that looks like. I've often wondered. Can't say I care for all that much, sir. Tastes like fish eggs.
The character of Doppler appears stern but somewhat respectful of Wyke, which is abused as Wyke pokes fun at him for his profession. In Wyke's mind, he is a greater detective and assumes the inferiority of the inspector. This is where Milo begins to play the game that Wyke instigated. During his portrayal of Doppler, Milo lures him in. He allows Wyke to feel a sense of superiority through his intellect and perceived knowledge of police procedures. Although the makeup appears somewhat outdated by today's standards, the reveal is heightened through Olivier's and Caine's performance, as the two are able to draw the viewer into their roles. That a shift in power comes as a genuine shock. Wyke appears stunned, and the slow reveal of Milo as he struggles comes as a sense of catharsis to the viewer, for a man who has tormented not only Milo, but the audience is getting his comeuppance. In a typical narrative, that would be it. Milo would have got his own back on Wyke and would have been perceived as the typical hero. But that isn't what Sleuth is about.
You shit.
Milo has to take it one step further against Wyke, as he plants the evidence for T's murder, Wyke's mistress, across his estate, to further torment and humiliate him. These men are fragile and cannot risk having their egos damaged. Another leading character of the film is the mansion itself. It's so vast, but so isolated at the same time. The mansion only adds to the emotional turmoil. It creates a sense of no escape for these men, as well as the audience, as they are locked in the property for the full runtime. The dolls that inhabit this estate provide so much about Wyke's character. It further cements the fact that he has lost touch with reality, and that deep down, this man is but a child, still obsessed with toys and games. Now this is where I want to draw a comparison to the remake. The mansion here is timeless, and the decor classy, but the remake creates this cold, strange environment that feels dated, and the film is just over 10 years old. The replacement of the creepy dolls for this lighting system felt laughable and served to add nothing to the tension or the humour of the script. I want to go a little further with the remake and look at how the Doppler reveal and how this proves to be a pertinent point about the crafting of these two films. As Milo removes the bald cap in the original, his hair is sweaty and standing on ends from playing that role for at least half an hour, but in the remake, Milo has to pour alcohol over himself and ruffle his hair to create that same look. With one, it feels almost real due to the actor's portrayal, but with the other, it has to simulate this reality through ulterior means. I think a film that could be looked at as a spiritual successor to this is the 2019 thriller The Lighthouse. Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson are able to create masterclass performances. The film is self-contained but broad in its isolated location, and the drama between the two characters are worked up slowly, building to a shocking climax. All points that appear mirrored with Sleuth, and certain aspects that are even more developed. The film is timeless. Elements of this film have been emulated throughout cinema for years, and even more so, Wyke became the voice of a generation's disgust with the upper class.
A jumped-up country boy who doesn't know his place!
A jumped up country boy who never knew his place. He said, return to me, we know.
If you haven't seen this film, I can't recommend it enough. I have watched it numerous times, from a young age with my mother, to most recently when looking at it for this video, and all times it has provided something new for me.